Well, here we are, the last episode of Batman the Animated Series, and it ends right where we began, with Red Claw. We're talking about The Lion and the Unicorn right now. Hello friends, welcome back to the show. So glad to see you once again. And if you're new here, thank you for joining us. This is the show where we talk about Batman the Animated Series episode by episode, and we've made it to the end. But if you're a huge Batman fan like me and grew up watching this show and other cartoons from the 80s and 90s, then I hope that you'll stick around, hit the subscribe button, because there's plenty more cartoons where this came from. But today we're talking about The Lion and the Unicorn, which originally aired on September 15th, 1995. I'm sure it wasn't deliberate, but I find it interesting that in the course of Batman the Animated Series, over the 3 years, 85 episodes, there's only 2 appearances of Red Claw, and she ends up being in the first and the last episode that aired. I know it's not the same in the production order. It ends up being the On Leather Wings was the first episode produced, and the last episode produced was Batgirl Returns, which is really bizarre. But in either case, we're going to talk all about that right after our 60-second Joker Bomb rundown of the episode. Here we go. We start out seeing how Alfred tends to all the needs of Bruce Wayne and Dick Grayson, and then Alfred gets a call that his cousin is in trouble and he's got to go to London to help him out. And then Alfred ends up getting in trouble himself, and these 2 guys are after him. He calls Bruce Wayne and says, "Hey, I'm having problems. Here's where I'm staying." And then Batman and Robin fly the Batwing to London to help out, and they find out that Red Claw has taken Alfred and his cousin, because he was part of the secret society, the kind of 007 kind of thing, and they each have half the code for this launch sequence of these bombs. So Red Claw is going to hold the London ransom, and in the process of doing so, Batman goes to the board and gets the whereabouts of this castle. He goes to the castle and he infiltrates the castle, and they fight their way through. But Alfred has already given up the codes through this truth serum thing, and they give this up. And so Batman and Robin fight their way through, and then they capture Red Claw. But then Batman has to fly the wing and out and shoot down the bomb before it blows up London.
Yes, folks, a perfect 10 for Dick Grayson to take the gold, and the crowd goes wild.
This episode has a really strange opening to it, although I understand why they were doing this, but there's some interesting dialogue as Alfred is tending to get lint off of Batman's cape and telling Dick Grayson,
"I do wish you would put on a shirt. You're apt to catch cold in his dank cave."
And I get it, they were trying to establish how much Alfred is needed around the Batcave when he comes up missing, but it's just kind of a weird way to start out an episode.
What would we do without you, Alfred?
I shudder to think.
And this episode is a great opportunity to kind of learn a little bit more about Alfred, how he used to be part of this spy organization in London, and we get to see how Alfred kind of can really hold his own. So
Frederick knows I hate being called Alfie as much as he hates Freddy. What have you done with him?
So this episode's great in the terms of learning a little bit more about Alfred, how he's not just the butler at Wayne Manor, but has a bit of a history. And all these kind of spy, counterterrorism kind of plots in this episode, and the fact that it takes place in England, makes it feel a little bit like a Bond movie.
Here's more bad news. Agent Frederick has been listed missing.
I don't like this. Frederick was part of the original security team at Blair Quang.
And like the first appearance of Red Claw, this is kind of a global plot for Batman to be able to accomplish, that he's got to save all of London because she is holding the entire city for ransom. She was holding Gotham City for ransom. Now she's trying to hold London for ransom.
I intend for the British government to give me £5 billion to keep me from wiping London off the map.
And again, I know that this wasn't intended to be the last episode of Batman the Animated Series, but it's an interesting one to land on, other than it kind of brings it full circle that we started with a Red Claw episode in Cat in the Claw, and now we're ending on one, so we get to see that full arc. It's neat seeing Kate Mulgrew back as the voice actor for Red Claw.
So pleased to make your acquaintance, Mr. Pennyworth. If you do exactly as I say, you might live to see tomorrow.
And it just leads me to believe even more so that these last 5 episodes, whether you consider it part of the 3rd season or its own 4th season, but it's kind of obvious that these episodes were just sort of left over and they just wanted to get them out there and release them. And
Why should we give you that information?
for that, I'm grateful. It would have been terrible to have these episodes be lost and have never been released. But it's very sort of anticlimactic to end on this note. And again, I know that all these characters come back in the new Batman adventures, but as far as the Batman the Animated Series, the original, the OG Batman Animated Series, it just sort of ends.
Of course. The old methods are still often the best.
And for some reason, the ending just didn't really connect with me. We see Batman stops Red Claw, but she's already entered in the code, which is where the title came from.
The lion and the unicorn.
So the bomb has already been launched and it's heading straight for London. And so Batman has to jump in the Batwing and fly off and intercept this bomb. And I get that it should have been a very climactic, very intense, suspenseful ending. And even the fact that Red Claw somehow ended up in the Batwing, even though he summoned it, landed, and he got in. And so she rips off his mask, which is kind of exciting, but never sees him before he ejects her out of the jet. And maybe it just in part, it just felt like, well, we needed to wrap that up. He had to stop the bomb from blowing up London. He just flies, shoots some missiles at it, blows up over the city, and everything's fine. And I know I'm a huge Batman fan, so I reluctantly say this, but it seems like other authorities and other military operations would be involved in this, especially when she's holding the entire city for ransom, that it ends up falling just on Batman's shoulders to go shoot down this bomb. There's no other aircrafts, there's no Royal Air Force or nothing that is helping Batman out. It's all up to him. And I don't know, it just feels... it just left me feeling a little disconnected at the end.
I don't suppose you'd consider coming out of retirement?
And taking up civil service pay grades again?
So when it comes time to rank this episode, I feel like it falls victim to some of the other episodes that just end up putting Batman in such a different situation that it just doesn't feel like a Batman episode. And by default, it ends up falling further down on the list than some of the other episodes, even though it's attempting to be a bigger, stronger story. So for all those reasons, it ends up falling at the number 64 slot of my favorite episodes so far. Falls just below Avatar, which also is another big global story of Batman saving the world. But I think Ra's al Ghul's just a touch more interesting than Red Claw. But it does beat out Harley's Holiday because Harley's Holiday ends up just being kind of goofy and silly, and a lot of random things happen in the middle of this, whereas this one's just a little bit more serious and more direct and more action-packed.
That's one less thing to worry about.
Two less things.
So which side of the fence do you fall on? Do you like the smaller kind of Batman in Gotham City stories? Or do you like the episodes that kind of send Batman on a world-saving mission? Let me know in the comment section below. Well, as I had mentioned before, this is the last episode of Batman the Animated Series, and it's been an absolute blast. I've had so much fun going back through and reviewing all 85 episodes of my favorite cartoon TV show of all time. And it ended up being 78 videos because I did the two-parters in one video instead of splitting them up. But in either case, we've reviewed all of the episodes, and it's been so much fun. And it's been so much fun having everybody being a part of this and commenting and joining in on this fun and sharing in this same experience. And I'll be coming out with another video very soon talking about recapping this entire series and then talking a little bit about what's coming up next, which there will be a coming up next, and I've got some plans of what I'm going to be doing coming forward, so keep your eyes peeled for that video. So if you enjoyed this video, please click the like button, and if you want to see more episodes and content like this, just hit subscribe, because there will be more episodes coming. And as always, I'm Andy Knode. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you soon.